Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today, your bonus to the daily Life Today broadcast show. I have the host of The Real Story with Gretchen Carlson with me. Gretchen Carlson, welcome.
Randy, great to be with you. Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Now, you've got a new book out that is just taking America by storm. It's called The Real Story?
It's called Getting Real.
Getting Real, okay.
And it's a riff off The Real
Story,
Story
right,
that I do on Fox.
So what are you getting real about? Have you been fake with this so far?
No, not at all. It's just that I'm getting real about things that have happened in my life, that a lot of stories that people have never heard about before, struggles that I've had, and oftentimes people see people on television and they think, oh, they don't have anything to worry about, right? Their life's been really easy, yeah, and they just rose to that level without really doing much, and my life is certainly not that at all. So I've had to work really, really, really hard for every accomplishment.
You went from Miss America to Fox News. What could be difficult?
With a lot of stops in between.
A lot of stops in between, yeah.
Yes. So, I really got into the Miss America organization, never a life plan by any stretch of the imagination, but I was a really serious violinist as a child, and I burned out when I was 17, and my parents really wanted me to find another goal where I could use that talent. And my mom got a brochure in the mail from the Miss America pageant. She called me up when I was at Stanford going to school and really serious about my academics. She said, I found what you're gonna do because 50% of your points are based on talent in the Miss America system and 30% are on interview. So you can do this. And I said, Mom, no. And over time, she convinced me, and I went back home to Minnesota and started the process. And the next year, it worked out for me and I became Miss America.
You not just won Minnesota. I can't say it.
Yeah.
But you actually won Miss America.
I did, and then I was away from Stanford for another 2 years doing those duties, and so I finally went back. But I was able to pay for the rest of my Stanford education with the money that I won from winning that.
That's great. How did you transition into journalism?
Yeah. So what happened during that year was they set me up on one of those practical jokes shows where they did a stunt for, to me, a trick, more or less. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna fire me as Miss America because it was so embarrassing. Well, then I found out that it was a whole practical joke. And when that show aired, some TV agents called me and said, have you ever thought about going into television? Because if you can do that, you can do TV. And earlier on I had like a tiny bit of an interest in it, but I was gonna go off to law school. And then I just decided, with all the experience that year of doing so many interviews and so much public speaking as Miss America, that I would try it. And I knew that my LSATs were good for 5 years in case I wanted to go back to law school. And here I am with a lot of stops in TV, from Richmond, Virginia to Cincinnati, Ohio, to Cleveland, to Dallas, to New York City to work for CBS News, and the last 10 years at Fox News.
So you never went back to law school?
I didn't, and actually it's on my bucket list still. And
really?
Sometimes when I try to irk my husband a little bit because he thinks I'm already too busy, I'll say, do you think I could fit in law school at night? He's like, are you nuts?
Yeah, part of me says we've got enough lawyers and we need good news broadcasters.
Yeah, and by the way, I have 2 children as well, so I've got a pretty full schedule, so I just do that when I'm kidding around with him.
Yeah, you're a great role model, I think, for young women who may be looking at whether it's going into law or going into another profession such as journalism. What do you tell young girls?
Well, mothers used to always say to me, well, what should I do for my child to become Miss America? And I would say, don't have them do pageants. I'd say have them practice the violin, the piano, study in school, do a sport, because that's where we learn self-esteem and discipline that carries with us for the rest of our lives. Lucky for me, I had a mother, number one, who when she said her prayers with me at night, she also said to me every night, you can be anything you want to be. And so I built my self-esteem from the inside out of my soul. I was a chubby kid growing up. Luckily, I was building my self-esteem, not looking at my body image. But my goal with this book, and in general, is to empower young women, and all women and men, that you should build your self-esteem from the inside out and never, ever give up. Because along the way, I've had to work really, really hard to get where I am. And I've had a lot of struggles. I was fired from a job right after I got married. When I finally did get another job, my husband and I had to commute. I've had infertility struggles. My first child was born with a tumor in her eye. So we've had some really serious life issues that we've had to battle, and faith has really been my foundation.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that your mother would say prayers with you. Was it your father or grandfather?
My grandfather was a Lutheran minister.
Good Minnesota Lutheran.
Yes,
Garrison
sure.
Keeler has taught us all about the Lutherans in
Garrison
Minnesota.
Keeler is actually I'm from the same town as Garrison Keeler, Anoka.
Anoka? Okay, not Lake Wobegon, that's fictitious, yeah.
Well, that is Anoka.
Oh, is it really?
Yes. Yes.
That is great.
I know. Good trivia question for you, right?
Yeah, no, that's funny. I got all sorts of jokes running through my head related to all that. But, well, yeah, tell me a little bit about the role that faith has played.
Oh, it was a huge part of my life. Well, first of all, not only did I learn faith from my grandfather, but I learned perseverance. He grew up on a dirt floor in southern Minnesota. He was the only child of 5 to go past the 7th grade. And he was a big, strapping man. And so the high school football coach saw him working at the church and said, "Do you know how to play football?" And he didn't, but it got him a scholarship to college, and he decided to dedicate his life to the Lord after that. He started at our church in Anoka, Minnesota with 800 members, and he used to go door to door to every new member or every new resident and say, "I'm here to sell you eternal life." And he eventually made the church into 8,000 people, and that was in the 1970s when that wasn't happening as much. So I learned perseverance and faith from my grandfather, 2 of life's most important lessons. And I always say, Randy, being a journalist, it's my job to ask a lot of questions and be curious. But the one thing that I have never questioned in my life is faith. And I feel blessed that I don't question it. It's just been this wonderful constant in my life. It's the way I choose to live my life and what I hope to pass along to my children. Well,
not to get too political on you, but what do you think of sort of the current fight in our nation between, your faith being public and we're being told, hey, you keep that private, but don't bring it into the public square?
Totally. And I face a tremendous amount of criticism for being outspoken about my faith. I never thought we'd get to a point in time in society where being a Christian was a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it used to almost be a requirement to even run for office.
Well, I know. So it's unbelievable to me that it's almost flipped completely, opposite. But after I turned 40, you become liberated in a lot of different ways. And one of the things for me was that I didn't really give a rip what people thought about when I talked about faith. And I have to tell you that the number one thing that people will say to me on the street, if they happen to watch Fox News or recognize me from time to time, is they say, "Thank you so much for talking about your faith and for standing up for values." And I figure, if that's the number one thing that I'm hearing, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, thank you for Getting Real. Be sure to check out her book, Getting Real. It is available right now online and in bookstores. And you can catch more of Gretchen Carlson when she's on Life Today. That's at lifetoday.org. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Randy.